and the man who spots for Matt Kenseth joins us on the guest line now. Chris Osborne made his return to the track at Martinsville. Crazy spotter on Twitter. Chris, welcome back to the program, man. I know it's a relief to get back up on that roof and get back to some sense of normalcy.
Yes, it was. I appreciate you guys having me on. It was a good weekend. It was a much anticipated weekend, and it was a little chilly and a whole lot breezy all weekend long. But man, the weather didn't cut into the excitement of me being back on the roof. That's for sure.
All right, so we welcome you back on the roof, but why were you gone? Explain to everybody and our listeners exactly what happened at the end of last year.
Well, Joey, December 17th, my family and I were involved in an auto accident, and took us. I was in the hospital for about 6 days. Austin was in there for 2, and Melissa was the most critically injured, and she was in Baptist Hospital in Winston-Salem for 4 weeks exactly. And we've just been going through the recovery mode and trying to heal up and get better and get back on our feet, and going through a lot of physical therapy for myself and for Melissa. Fortunately, I'm done with mine now, but Melissa is still in the latter stages of hers. She finished up her home therapy about 2.5 weeks ago, and now has moved into some outpatient therapy, which is a good thing, because that means that now she's finally out of the wheelchair and up on her feet and mobile and able to move around. But she still has a long way to go. A lot of her body still needs attention and needs some work to get it back to 85 or 90%, which is probably going to be about the max that she's going to get out of it. Hoping for more, that's for sure. But in all reality, that's probably what she'll get back. And if she's able to accomplish that goal, I think she'll be satisfied with it.
Well, under the circumstances, I know it could have been a whole lot worse, and good to see that all you guys are on the road to recovery. But you still got, what, screws in your leg and crutches and that whole ball of wax for a while now?
Yeah, I'll have the plates and the screws in my leg from now on. They won't come out. I think if they take those out, they may as well take away the bottom part of my right leg, because that's pretty much what's holding it all together. It's healing up well. There were so many fractures. My tibia just exploded and blew out the shin of my leg during the accident. It broke my fibula, and it broke all the bones and pieces in there, just fractures from the kneecap down to just above the ankle. And it's a nasty mess in there, but broke my kneecap all the way across the bottom of my kneecap, and then it broke it up into the ball and the socket as well. But we had to go back to the doctor on April 26th to get some x-rays made, and hopefully everything's still healing up and mending in the right direction. And I'm walking around with a cane now. I can get around without one for a short period of time, or in a small area. But when I have to travel and go like this weekend to Martinsville, and there's numerous steps to climb and things like that, and after the race yesterday and on Saturday, having to walk up the road to the top of the hill to the car was a trek. So I still need a little bit of assistance on a long distance journey, but hopefully here within a 2 or 3 week time span, I'll be able to get rid of that and just be back on my 2 feet again.
Christopher, it's great to have you back. We realize when NASCAR talks about being a family sport, when things are good, we don't really see the strength of the family. But when things happen bad, I think the strength of this entire NASCAR family really assisted you and your family, as well as your own family. It was really honor to be associated with having you back on the roof. Your day didn't go as planned, but before we talk about the race, my one question that I get asked all the time: where did Crazy come from? Where did the actual name come from?
Well, it goes way back into my latter teenage years, to be honest with you, Joey. I was always a guy growing up that always liked to have a lot of fun. I was, the one that always tried to get everybody in a good mood and always have fun and enjoy each day. And when I got out of high school and started driving a truck, all the truck drivers have to have a CB handle. That's just the way of the trucking industry. And so I was trying to come up with a good CB handle for myself with some of my buddies, and one of them said, "Man," he said, "you just crazy." He said, "You plumb crazy." He said, "All the time." He said, that needs to be it. So we started out with Plum Crazy. That was my CB handle, and still is to this day. But the majority of the people just call me Crazy now. And there may be another story or two along the way that may pertain to that, but we probably should just touch on that at a little later date.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit of racing now. You guys on Sunday ran up front pretty much all day long, but right before you came on, Joey and I were talking about guys checking up, coming off on pit road to try and get the position they want for restarts. You guys got caught on that outside lane, and man, unless somebody does you a favor, you can go to the back in a hurry in that situation. Is that kind of what happened on that last restart with you guys?
Yeah, that was exactly what had happened. We'd been working together with the 18, kind of like Brad and Joey did there the last race, and just trying to be teammates and help one another out and make it as easy on the other as we possibly could. And we stayed out, and Joey probably has the facts. I just think there were approximately 9 cars that stayed out on the old tires during that last pit stop. And we were hung on the outside, and the 18 decided with that few laps to go that they didn't want to take a chance on something happening, so they wanted to just race for it. And that's understandable. Granted, sitting on my side of the fence, we would have loved to have played the teammate game one more time to get us in line 1 and 2 and then see what happens. But when you get down to the end of the race with 11 laps to go, you understand their side of the story as well. So it was just unfortunate we got hung on the outside. Never was an opportunity. I tried to squeeze him down 2 different times, and that door just closed really quickly. It seemed like Matt rolled down into the corner, anticipating the hole to still be there when he got down in the corner. And especially when we got back in the mix with the guys that had the pressure tires, they just had so much roll speed on entry to the center with those fresh tires that the gaps just closed up in a hurry. And unfortunate that we weren't able to get down in there and came home with a 15th place finish. It was a great day overall. We ran well, just kind of hung out to dry there at the end.
Yeah, one of the things as going back to Martinsville, it is our shortest track of the year. It's a half mile. It's our slowest track of the year as well. How many laps on Friday for practice or even Saturday for the truck race or possibly Sunday? How many laps back on the roof did it take you to feel like you had never missed a lap?
I'll be honest with you, Joey. I felt like that once I put the headset on and got on, we had truck practice first thing on Friday. That was the first thing on the racetrack. And once I put my headset and all back on and Daniel rolled out for his first lap of practice, I felt like that I had stayed in tune with everything from Daytona until Friday, and I think I've done it long enough that it should come natural to me, and I felt like it did. First lap on the racetrack with Daniel, I felt like I was right back in sync, and when we had cup practice, I was I definitely felt in tune and 100% and 100% confident in myself and ready to go. So I really don't feel like that I had a setback in that department, fortunately. So the comfort level was still there from the first lap on the racetrack.
Speaking of that, we're chatting with Chris Osborne, the spotter for Matt Kenseth and the Dollar General Toyota. Also, as you mentioned, for Daniel Suarez in the Camping World Truck Series, and that was a wild, some might say crazy race, especially at the end as people started pushing and shoving their way toward the front. But I wanted to ask you specifically about Daniel Suarez. A lot of folks believe this is the next guy who's going to break through and start finding himself in victory lane. Working with him, what do you see in that young driver?
Yeah, I see so much potential with Daniel. Jimmy Maycar and I stood and talked about Daniel and had a lengthy conversation yesterday morning at Martinsville, talking about where he came from and the excitement of having him on board at KBM and at JGR and what everyone felt like he could do. And I started working with Daniel from his very first race in the Xfinity Series back in Richmond when he ran I think he ran 2 races in the 14 maybe. I lose track of my years here, but I think it was 14. Anyway, I've been with Daniel since the beginning, and I've done all of his Xfinity and all of his truck stuff other than the non-companion stuff, and Curtis Markham takes care of that. But Daniel has so much potential. The one thing about Daniel is, you know, I talk to him and on a weekly basis and more often than not, multiple times during the course of the race. And after every race, we text back and forth or talk either on Sunday night or first thing on Monday and go over the past weekend's race. And then we start looking towards the next weekend. And the one thing about Daniel is he definitely has the talent. There's no doubt about that to get the job done. But, you know, in the very beginning and still up till today, he still has questions on things inside the race car or, you know, the Camping World truck as far as car control, you know, with some of these guys breathing the throttle, you know, if they're dragging the brake at certain places and things of that nature. And I know Kyle has been a huge help to Daniel. Daniel has relied on Kyle from the very beginning, and Kyle has stepped up to the plate. And I know Daniel has talked to the other drivers as well, but it seems Kyle is his go-to guy. And, you know, I told him, I said, I can tell you and give you tons of advice for things that I see on top of the roof from a spotter standpoint, you know, as to what I see with cars and where I think what lines are working and where you need to be on the racetrack and, you know, some of your lift points and back to the throttle and, you know, depending on where you are, different scenarios. But as far as inside the car, I told him in the very beginning, I said, you know, you've got, at that point in time, Carl wasn't on board, the 3 of the best Cup drivers in the business right here at JGR. So you need to lean on those guys and talk to them and ask them the questions. I said, because they're not going to come to you and offer the advice. I said, you're going to have to put forth the effort to go and try to pry it out of them. And I said, I'm sure that each and every one of them will help you as much as they possibly can and lead you in the right direction. And you know, Kyle is kind of taking him under his wing, especially since he is in the KBM camp over there driving the Camping World truck. So that's been a huge, huge help to Daniel with things going on, and especially Martinsville. You know, we've seen him run there well the last 2 races, and you know, a lot of that is just a product of him sitting down with Kyle multiple times and trying to figure out how Kyle drives the place. So I think Daniel has a really bright future in racing, and I think that he'll make it to the Cup level for sure. You know, he's come a long way in a short period of time, and I think he has the talent, the desire, and the desire to do it. It's just a matter of time, and man, that win's just right around the corner. And like I told him, I said, you know, they're not easy to come by in any series for sure. You know, you have to have pretty much that perfect day. And I said, but once you get that first one, I said, the anticipation is just has built up within everybody in the racing industry wanting to see you get that first one. And I said, once you get that first one, it seems like they'll come a little easier. I said, not that they'll come every week, but you know, if you get 1, 2, 3 a year, I said, then that's a pretty good record, especially when you move to the Cup Series.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And with a resource like that, he certainly needs to rely on him. Well, Chris, listen, we appreciate you taking the time. Good to see you back on top of that spotter stand, and we look forward to catching up with you at Texas Motor Speedway this weekend.